All right, on today's notes, we're going to look at area and circumference of circles and of parts of circles. Okay. All right. So at first here, we're going to just talk quickly about the formulas, and these are on your note on your formula chart, so you don't have to necessarily memorize these. But your circumference of a circle is 2 pi r, or pi times diameter. The area of your circle is pi r squared. Now these are two things you might not have seen before. The area of a sector would be this shaded region, and I'll shade this in here in red, would be this shaded region right in here. So if I wanted to find the area of that sector, I'm going to take my A, which is going to be in degrees. Okay, our A is always going to be in degrees, so it's going to be A divided by 360 times pi r squared. The r is going to be our radius, just like if we were finding the area of the entire circle. Okay, so and don't forget, this A is going to be in degrees. Okay, so it's going to be part of the area. Now, if we want to find the length of a sector, so if we wanted to find the length of a sector, okay, so our length, and if we're talking about length, and I'll do it here in blue, the length would just be the distance between the 2 points where the radii, or where maybe a chord and a radius, or whatever it is that we're talking about, intersect the circle. So the length is going to be part of the circumference. And it's going to start off with the same thing. It's going to be that A over 360 times 2 pi r. So it's just part of that circumference. Okay, so that's our area of our sector and the length of the sector, or arc length. Okay. All right, now if we talk about a segment, difference between a segment and a sector is that a segment, we're going to go in between a chord and an arc of the circle, and our formula for the length of a sector is going to be the exact same formula that we're going to use for finding the area of the sector. Okay, and you know that's no different from the sector, and they're all very, very similar parts. Anything that I have for you, I'll make it very specific on what you're going to have to solve for. But if we're finding the length, regardless if it's a sector or the length of a segment, it's still going to be the exact same formula, that A divided by 360 times 2 pi r, or pi times diameter. Either one would work. Okay. Now with that segment, you'll see an example here in a second on how we'll use that. It's pretty similar to how we would solve to find the area of our sector. Okay. All right. Finally, with our annulus, and this is probably a term you have not seen yet. All that an annulus is, it's the region between two concentric circles. And remember, we talked about concentric at the beginning of the year. Concentric just means that they have the same center with two different radii. So in our formula, this small r is going to be the radius of the small circle. The capital R is going to be the radius of a big circle. So to find the area of our annulus, it's pi times the area of the big circle squared minus pi times the area of the small circle squared. Okay, and I'll just shade this in real quick, but the annulus would be this part in here between the two. Okay. All right, well, let's look at one or two quick examples, and then that'll be it for this video. All right, so we want to find the area of this shaded region. So we want to find the area of that shaded region right there. So our formula is going to be A over 360 times times pi r squared. Okay, so now this 240, that's this big arc here. So that means this small arc is going to be 120. So the A that I'm going to use is the A of that shaded part, so 120 degrees. So 120 over 360 times pi, and then the radius I gave you is 8, so pi times 8 squared. Now I'm going to ask you for one of two answers. Sometimes you have to do an exact answer or a decimal approximation. That just depends on whether or not we multiply it out by pi. So if I want it to be an exact answer, we'll just need to type it into our calculator, which is going to give us an answer of So if we multiply it all the way out, which is what I'm going to have you do the majority of the time on these, is going to be 66.99. So that would be the area of that sector. Okay. And if I wanted as an exact answer, you would tell me that it would be 21 1/3 pi. Okay, and that's all that finding the area of a sector is. Okay, now to keep this video short, we're going to skip this example. We're going to go to the last one here, just finding the area of this annulus. So I want to find the area of this blue part of just the annulus. So it's going to be pi times the radius of my big circle, so 5, squared. Because that 10 in the picture here, this 10 is the diameter of the big circle, minus pi times the radius of the small circle, squared. So when I multiply that out, if I want to leave it as an exact answer, it's going to be 25 pi minus 4 pi. So 21 pi would be my exact answer. And if I wanted a decimal approximation, it's going to be times 3. About 65.94. And that's it. That's finding the area of a sector and the annulus. Not anything too complicated for you, but something that we'll practice on with our assignment after you finish your quiz tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in class tomorrow.